going to have any Sylas being played. Outside of that, everything is acceptable. We're in the southern region for the collegiate series, and that means that Kale is allowed, whereas those West Coasters are going to have to deal with playing without Kale. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You do get a bit of a webcam from me. However, that being said, Prince is going to be just Jay chillin'. We can imagine how beautiful he looks. You can see my ugly mug and, just assume that Prince is way, way prettier than that as we get into these picks and bans.
As we get into picks and bans, again, we are having in the Southern Conference, Texas A&M versus George Mason University. And again, this is a very high level play because both of these teams are ranked around that Grandmaster/Masters region. So we are going to be seeing some top tier picks. We might see the Kale pop up here. She has a really weak early game, which Riot did emphasize, and I'm wondering if we see it. It could be seen in the top and mid lane. We have seen a little bit of jungle Kale, but I don't think the experience is enough in that jungle role. So we'll most likely be seeing it in the top and mid if they do decide to pull it out on this deck.
And that's one of the things to keep in mind is her weak early means that she is going to be weak into champions like, say, Riven, who's even shown up in the LCS as being a bit more of a prime pick, or the Jace, looking for that early range, early advantages. So if it's the idea for either of these teams to pick it up, keep in mind some of those possible counter picks, as neither team has banned it away. So we may be seeing a Kale after all, the bans being that Kled, Corki, and Morgana for the side of GMU. Over at A&M, the Rek'Sai, Lucian, and Jax, those are all kind of S-tier picks. Yeah, their standard ADC Lucian knocked away. Rek'Sai's been tearing it up in solo queue. Jax the split push, all of those classic champions knocked off. And perhaps a Galio support for the first pick out of GMU.
I really like this pick from the side of GMU. Picking the Galio early on, it is a very strong pick in the support lane, like you mentioned. However, because it is able to be flexed into the mid lane and can be placed really safe, especially into matchups like Lysandra and Orianna, we could see it as a flex pickup. Texas A&M going to be locking in that Ezreal with Lucian being taken down here. That is pretty much the other top tier AD carry in 9.5 right now. I wonder what they do lock here for the side of Texas A&M. They are going to pick up their bot lane, looks like, with Ezreal Braum being locked in. But the big problem is that George Mason now has the ability to pick up that Kalista Galio lane, which we've been seeing in the LCK as pretty much the dominant bot lane in patch 9.5.
Exactly, and Braum also being grabbed. One of those strong champions, his Unbreakable, so good into pretty much every ADC, as well as that ultimate fantastic for use in those bigger team fights. Now, he is a little bit slow, and he's not the best of engaged champions. Now, with that Kai'Sa locked in by GMU, it's a nice counter pick because of that killer instinct, allowing her to kind of fly past that initial front line or engage, get to the back line, chase Ezreal through whatever arcane shift he may be trying to do to get away. And ooh, is this the possible Nico pickup? Okay, I was kind of curious. She's one of those champions that can either pop off or feed. But it is going to be Sejuani locked in, kind of a premier pick at the moment, a massive tank, massive engaged champion that also, for whatever reason, Rito can figure out, does a bit of damage as well. Can hurt.
George Mason bringing out those picks
and
covering
be elevated.
Nico and the Rumble, which could be seen in the mid and top, but Sejuani being locked in. And as we go into the second round of picks, Aurelia being the last pick for Texas A&M, can be a flex pick, can be picked either top or in the mid lane, has been doing really well after Riot upped her back and now is more attack speed oriented. Before, we did see the hit marks just dash in, pretty much blow up the back line. It does play a little bit more differently. We are going to see Texas A&M banning out the Aatrox. Is a very strong jungle, top, and mid flex. So very strong in the 9.5 meta. In terms of what I want to see George Mason ban out here, they have picked up their bot lane most likely with the Galio support. So if they do try to ban out either the jungle or the mid pool for the side of Texas A&M, it can really crunch down what the 9.5 meta picks and the 9.5 top tier picks are for the side of Texas A&M.
as well as these mid laners, which I'm really curious to see what they decide to pick, as no mid laners really have been banned away, except maybe that Curious Morgana could be considered a flex from mid to bottom lane supportive role, though she's definitely known for her bottom lane play. So there's so many options here for the mid lane. If you're looking for heavy engage or team fight, you've got potentially that Orianna that can maybe pair up, dropping the ball onto the Irelia going in. But Lissandra is currently one of the top tier considered mid laners, can be played into almost anything, a very safe pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see that come out. Yasuo also available, as the last two bans are that Rumble and Kennen. Again, still pinching that top lane pool.
And with Texas A&M having the counter pick on the red side, most likely this will be the jungle pickup here. Jarvan being Hubbard. This is a pretty top tier jungler. Again, in the North American LCS, it has been prioritized a little bit more than we have seen it around the world. We have been seeing Karthus jungles around the world, but in North America, again, that Jarvan Galio combo, which is actually going to be taken away from by Texas A&M, is a very strong combo. It has a lot of engage, can enable a lot of picks, and again, this Nico being Hubbard here, I want to see it so badly.
Oh, there it is!
Locked in.
So we're going to have a little bit of sneaky play, most likely, from the top lane. With all those top laners banned away, it's going to be Nico up there, causing a little bit of havoc. Great. Wait, hold on. No, that's Nico mid lane. Okay, all right.
This is going to be Nico mid.
It is.
For Anime Lover. I do want to see what he does pick up. That Nico on-hit build was nerfed and hot picks by Riot pretty much after it popped up and kind of dominated the pro meta. It has been tuned down a little bit, but again, it is still very strong with the 2-atom power spike. It could be an AP Nico for the team fighting. They do have a lot of team fighting set up, but again, that Lissandra pickup for Texas A&M, like you mentioned, is the top tier pick for 9.5 mid laners. And rounding it out, this seems like two very team fight oriented team comps for the side of George Mason and for the side of Texas A&M.
Indeed, and they got some pretty good opportunities, both sides, really, to make some plays happen when they decide, you know what, this is our time, let's go in. For the side of Texas A&M, you got that Jarvan, who's going to be looking to drop that Cataclysm, cause some chaos. Irelia can stun up multiple people as well. Lissandra's ult so good, if that Jarvan engage gets him a little bit low, she just ults him, or she can't ult him, but she ults whoever he's ulted to make sure that that AoE is truly impactful. For the side of GMU, they got that Sejuani. Her Glacial Prison is fantastic at being able to set up the team to follow up. And Nico, one of those nice combo champions as well, can really hit some strong AoE. So I'm expecting some really powerful 5v5 fights. Neither team really ran a solid pick comp. There's no, say, Threshes, there's no Zoes. But either way, Vision still always one of those big keys for both teams when it comes to the skirmishes and team fights into the mid and later stages of the game.
In terms of how both of these teams want to work out as they get into that mid game, on the side of Texas A&M, they do have triple TPs with Ezreal taking the TP as well, and they can side lane very well. Aurelia and Lissandra can be splitting in the top and bottom lane while the 3-man run it down mid, and with the teleports, they should be able to come into these team fights and make a big impact. However, again, the problem is what I want to look for the side of George Mason is this mid 2v2 versus the Jarvan and Lissandra. Nico and Sejuani actually don't have a lot of damage. Nico really scales when she does get that 2 items if she is going the on-hit build. So in terms of the 2v2, Jarvan and Lissandra win it all the way, and she does have the cleanse. She did have to take it as the Lissandra tax in this matchup. But the problem is, if Jarvan ever dunks her down and she does not have the flash, she can get locked down, and this mid lane can get blown wide apart. And they never really do ever end up winning that 2v2 with the Sejuani Nico versus Jarvan Lissandra. So this is going to be a big focal point for Texas A&M. If they can exploit this mid lane matchup, they can break this game open. And if Nico can't really contribute in the side lane with that oppressive on-hit build, she kind of becomes a useless pick as the game does go on.
And that's one of the things in the current meta. There is a little bit, not quite as strong as I've seen before, but a little bit of a snowball meta. You get started, you get those plates, before the turret phase is even over. You got a massive gold lead. You start those Drakes rolling into your team, controlling those neutral objectives. They give you that extra boost as well. You can eventually just snowball this into a victory, say, you know what, it's our game. We're not even going to let you attempt to get back into it. And when you're looking at GMU, one of the things you got to note is that Yorick in the top lane, that split push opportunity that he has, split push is one of those, we're looking to mid game. We're looking late game for Yorick to be going for an inhibitor while we're team fighting around, say, a Baron or something. Again, if you snowball really hard from the beginning of the game, by the time you get to that mid game, Yorick, you know, he could just be unusable in that split push because he's going to have to defend. He won't have the vision. There's going to be the collapse opportunities from the Jarvan and Lissandra, or even Irelia at that point might be able to just straight up 1v1 him if she's that far ahead.
For me, this game is going to be the tale of two junglers. Can Firefly defend his lanes enough to where they can get into that mid-game point where Nico does hit the 2 items, Yorick hits the 2 items, and they can really take over this game. Like you mentioned, if Yorick can get to that 2-item spike with the Triforce and the Sterix Gauge, he can become a split push monster with the 4-man for George Mason and him in the side lane. He can break down almost any tower, and Texas A&M is going to have to devote a lot of resources to him. So it's going to be up to Sejuani to make sure her laners stay safe enough. But on the other side for Texas A&M, if this Jarvan can get his laners ahead, they can blast George Mason out of the water with just this incredible team fight comp they have.
Absolutely. Now, one thing to note from Texas A&M when you're talking about those 2-item power spikes is that Ezreal. He really likes to be sitting on a nice, solid, double tier or tier and another item opportunity before he really starts to chunk people down with those Qs. But as you talked about, the powerhouse of Jarvan in the early game, setting up those side lanes, could give Ezreal the early edge to get that 2-item spike before the Nico or the Kai'Sa truly come online. So again, for GMU, not only do they have to deal with the laning phase and have to figure out how to survive that, but they want to stall. They want to stall to hit that 25-minute mark so that once they get those 2-item spikes, they've got the late game Yorick, they've got Galio who's going to be just ulting in, causing big team, wombo combos with the Nico and the Sejuani. They could take over the game at that point, but they need to be able to survive the early game, not allow A&M to snowball and stall it out till they hit those power spikes and are able to find their own lead. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is GMU versus Texas A&M playoffs, game number 1. Glad to see you all here. It's going to be a pretty exciting game. Of course, we got a little bit of a pause, so we're going to let the flyover run its full length to give you a nice view of the map. Check it out. See all of its glory with those new plates before we jump in and check in with how the pause is slowly ticking down. Not sure what the pause is about. We have not been updated, so that'll give us a little more analysis time, I suppose.
And it's not a playoff series without an early game pause. I've seen this in almost every playoff series I've ever casted. And one thing I do want to mention on the side of George Mason is Anime Lover is actually running the Arcane Comet in this matchup right now. That's pretty much telling me that he's not going to be that on-hit Nico build that we saw rise up in 9.5. He's actually going to be going that standard AP Nico where he tries to go for those team fights and goes for those massive pop blossoms with that 1.3 AP ratio. He can become a pretty big nuisance in the team fights, but we are not going to be seeing him become a nuisance in these side lanes like we expected in the Champ Select.
All right, as we're getting the standard lineup, checking out, making sure there's no one running through the rivers, you can check in and see this is an Ocean Drake start. Not exactly everyone's favorite Drake, considering that Infernals always make things more fun, but Ocean Drake's still strong, especially for your heavy mana users, if you can get it while you're still in the laning phase. But either way, not expecting to see any junglers rushing to that Drake at the very beginning of the game.
Definitely won't see any rushes, but it can be very impactful for both sides, with Ezreal using a lot of mana and having that double tier stacking build. An early Yoshi can really tilt a lot of these early laning phase. If Yorick can get that Ocean Dragon, he kind of stops taking a lot of damage from the Irelia, and he's allowed to scale up a little bit more. So I do want to see both of these junglers try to put a little bit more emphasis on maybe getting that early Ocean, and it's going to be up to having these laners get priority. In terms of bot lane, obviously the Kai'Sa Galio personally, in my opinion, will be getting priority over that Azul Braum lane. They kind of just want to farm it out to that 2-item power spec you did mention. And looks like we're just going to get into standard lanes.
Yep, so both sides gonna just play it safe, play it smart, and it makes sense. For game number 1, when you know that it's gonna be a potential 5 games, but you wanna take game 1 the steadiest and slowest. You wanna make sure that you feel good. You may have not been able to play these players too many times before. I don't know how deep their scrim opportunities were, so they said, you know what, let's just play it safe. Let's make sure that start the game off as clean as possible. Don't do anything crazy. It'll be later that we see maybe some crazy shenanigans as teams that are desperate to get any advantage will be looking to maybe go into the enemy team jungle and try to find some shenanigans. Either way, standard clean starts for both teams. Said the junglers were a big impact as J-Force making his way into the blue side jungle, but outside the jungles, is there any other lane that you see as being kind of priority to keep eyes on?
Priority for me is going to be this Yorick versus Aurelion matchup. You did mention, again, that Yorick does become a massive split push threat if the game does go on. And if he can get to that Triforce point without falling too far behind, it's going to be up to Firefly or Z3SS to try to shut him down or try to assist him, because this matchup is very volatile. Aurelia can win against the Yorick, but it's kind of iffy, and if she does fall behind in terms of item power specs, or if she ever hits that Triforce breakpoint before or after the Yorick, it's going to become a big problem.
Hold on, Galio engaging the bottom lane, Winds of War dropping low, Holy Slurp on the run, under 200 health, Ignite taking away, Enrique getting things set up, nice knockup from the Sejuani as well, Braum flash used, and he's going to go down first blood over to the Kai'Sa. J4 here though with the teleport as well from the Lissandra. They're going to look for the knockup, Ryla's flashes, but he's still going to fall. Firefly on the run, should be able to escape, but a quick 1-1 for both teams. First blood though goes to GMU.
And Texas A&M actually going to have to commit to the early teleport, so it looks like the Nico is going to be able to get that lane advantage, get the XP advantage, able to push that way fully into tower. Again, great combo by Rylas to get in earlier on. Looks like Jarvan's actually going to go for a mid.
Yeah, there's a lot of pings, though, from the side of GMU. They may have been able to catch vision on that Jarvan around the corner. Not sure why the camera's just Jay chilling in the top lane. We're just seeing a little bit of farming between these two top laners. Also wanted to note, as we saw that teleport used by Lissandra in the mid lane, it's actually triple teleports from A&M. Ezreal, Lissandra, and Irelia all taking teleports. They'll be a mobile team when it comes to those mid games, and maybe that's an opportunity to kind of collapse in if GMU is trying to make any of those wombo combo plays. As we saw, it was a nice return of a kill in the bottom lane. See what else they can do, because you got to be quick to the punch when it comes to those teleports.
And Mr. Black Panda using that teleport early on is going to cost him in terms of just laning prowess, because he's not going to be able to teleport back in a lane after having that quick early buy. It's able to affect the lanes, but without having that teleport, he's going to get pushed around a little bit, especially early on in this Nico matchup where she can dominate. If this bot lane does get ahead again, we did see that Enrique and Rylas were able to win pretty much that 2v2 with a little bit of the help from Firefly coming out there, and Holy Slurp did have to expend that flash in that early engage, so it could be a lane where Firefly tries to focus around, and if you can get that lane to snowball for the side of Kai'Sa and Galio, this could be a really early
oh, hold on, fight for the Scuttle Crab. Jarvan seals the way. He's got the slow. Irelia stunned though, not gonna land. Trying able to walk away for now. A little bit of damage from Anime Lover in the mid lane, dropping Mr. Black Panda down to about half. But really, it's mostly the disengage and try and keep even in farm. Go ahead.
And they're just gonna have control again. This is a game about push and pull. Both of these solo laners are able to shove in their waves and try to rotate around, and in that situation, Precocious was able to get the top lane shove and rotate down to assist the jungler with the Scuttle Crab secure. So Z3SS has a little bit of a lead over this one, but not going to be too big of a deal as we are getting close to that level 6 points for both a lot of these solo laners and maybe for the junglers in a couple minutes.
Once again, as we're talking about these junglers, it is still that Ocean Drake on the map. We're at that 6-minute mark. No team has really cared to run to it just yet, but really you look to the neutral objectives after you find an edge in a lane. Maybe it's a team fight that you've won, so you have more people on the map. Maybe you are able to pick off the enemy jungler while he's running around, and that allows you the pressure to get onto that neutral objective. But as none of those have gone down, it's kind of just still sitting there, hanging out. Rift Herald will be up here shortly. Don't see the team running for it just yet. I like, though, that deep ward from GMU into Jarvan's blue side, blue side jungle, so they know when he's at least around there, getting some vision on him, keeping track of his movements.
This is something I like noting, especially as an AD main. We can see that the Ezreal actually went for the Sheen first item instead of the usual tier stacking. Ezreals go this in lanes when they really feel like they need to get that lane advantage. It does give a lot of damage. It's gonna go on.
Oh, they're gonna catch out Braum. They've got the taunt. He's got no flash. He does have stand aside, trying to get him away, but the stun comes through from the Sejuani. Beautifully done, and Kai'Sa picks up a second kill for a late game champion. That's a nice early start.
And good job by Firefly to just be in the lane. Had burned the summoners in that earlier gank and is able to exploit it, giving his bot lane a good fully lead. And we had seen Kai'Sa, when she does hit that 2-item spike, can become a pretty big monster. And if there's no one to really lock her down, if Mr. Black Panda can't get too far ahead, she could take over this game. One thing I do want to mention is that the new Kai'Sa build that has been coming up, especially being popularized by people like Teddy and Viper in the LCK, is that Stormrazor Kai'Sa. It had fallen out of favor due to how the AD breakpoints were being hit for her 180 and 100 attack speed, but because of the little bit of a buff that has been given, new build for Kai'Sa is the Stormrazor into the Rage Blade. It looks like she's probably just going to stick to the classic IE, but it is something to mention, as looks like she hasn't adapted to the newer build as of yet.
Nope. But still, having that BF sword going to be pretty nice. He's got that pickaxe as well, so starting off with 2 strong AD items. Still a bit on the squishier side, but one of the things with this bottom lane from A&M is they're not the most aggressive. You have to look for the right opportunity to engage, and Galio's taunt can cause you so many issues. As soon as you jump in, Galio just says, you know what, you just don't get to fight for another, how about 2 seconds? You know what, that sounds good. He's going to jump forward, flash in, find the shot, killer instant used by Kai'Sa, because she's hit level 6, and Rylas comes out with his own kill, as the Holy Slurp should be able to walk away, but still, they have found themselves 3 kills in the bottom lane, and GMU are looking happy down there.
It's a little bit of a lazy back by Kishuna there. Is caught out by the Galio flash. Oh, they're gonna go
TP coming in from, I believe this is Lissandra to the bottom lane. Galio ult gonna be used, only finds one knockup. Kai'Sa's already following the Holy Slurp, gonna be getting low, however isn't dropped just yet. Rylas is here, it's a party in the buck as everyone's come down to the bottom lane. They're gonna find themselves a Yorick as well. Maiden in the Mist not gonna last very long, and that will be A&M. 3 kills with a quick re-engage. Look again at those teleports everyone used, and they get 3 kills off of that.
You mentioned it, the map mobility for this team is so ridiculous. We saw all 3 teleports coming in, and they just blast Enrique and Rylas, and they get a pretty big lead, able to turn around that matchup. And the big thing to know is that Ion actually expended his teleport on the Yorick and got almost nothing from it. So that play could have been just, you can say that it's just a bot lane play, but that's going to have big implications around all of the matchups, as Lissandra was able to pick up pressure in her lane, able to pick up the farm in the top lane. We saw Precocious pick up the kill on the assist, and this is big for the side of Texas A&M, because they need to be using those teleports. They need to be leveraging that map mobility to get advantages around the map.
And with those kills, able to kind of go and take that gold into other lanes. There's the possibility of finding those small advantages. Yorick especially wanting to use that Maiden of the Mist to split push, get some of those turret platings down, as we're still under the 14-minute mark. Won't have it. He already used it, and it was immediately cleaned up because he wasn't even around for it, as Gracious going to potentially be ganked on the top lane. Firefly finds the Glacial Prison. The flash used by Aurelia. Get with the wall. Says hi to the Shelly. Rift Herald, but is going to be jumped on by Nico. Gets a nice stun. However, the ultimate from Nico is going to root her up. Lots of damage. Anime Lover will pick up in his own kill first for him in the mid lane, as the Braum looks like he might be trying to engage in the bottom lane. Doesn't find it though, so we'll back away.
Fantastic snipe by Firefly to catch Precocious. He actually burns the flash as well, but ends up going down to Anime Lover's Rum, who did have priority in the lane at that point. Looks like they're just going to try to go for the Ocean Dragon here. They should be able to get it to the side of Texas A&M. George Mason caught sleeping just a little bit, actually lose the objective after picking up the kill on the enemy top laner. And again, this game is so dead even as we go transition into the mid game. Just a 3K, 300 gold difference for both of these teams. And looking at just the advantages in terms of items for both of these laners, we can see where the pressure is going to be going as we transition into this mid-game phase. Kai'Sa is so strong, actually hit her Q evolve already with the ID double pickaxe. And again, Firefly coming down to this bot lane. He's gonna try to make another.
Hold on, Galio trying to find the taunt, only lands onto the Braum. Ezreal throwing out a little bit of damage, but it's a tanky Galio. Not much he can do. Nice glacial knockup. Gonna hold on to Sejuani, but she's gonna still flash forward. That should give Enrique his 3rd kill of the game. Kai'Sa may have died earlier, but she's still got plenty of damage, going double pickaxe in that bottom lane at the moment.
Looks like they're just gonna grab a little bit more plating, and again, this bot lane for the side of George Mason is getting so far ahead, and this guy is being set up to carry this game through. Great play by Firefly to keep exploiting this bot lane. Again, that Galio engage is so strong. He just comes in, gets the taunt off, and there's not much you can do on the side of Texas A&M to his.
Now, while we have a moment of non-killing, though J4 may change that. Hold on, yeah, so we'll talk about the fight here in the mid lane as Nico clones and tries to jump away, but the J4 is still going to drop that Cataclysm. He's going to get a little bit of damage flash used by Anime Lover to get underneath the turret, so Nico will live. I just wanted to complain for a second and say that Riot needs to be a touch more creative with their abilities. If you check the Sejuani, it's Glacial Prison. If you check the Lissandra, it's Glacial Tomb. If you check the Braum, it's Glacial Fissure. Why does everything have to have Glacial in the name? Okay, sorry, play-by-play issue. As the Irelia maybe going down the top lane. Ione finding a nice trade as the Irelia kind of going in a little bit too heavy.
He can win this.
Gonna see if he can fight this out, but he will be jumped on by Firefly. There's a Glacial Prison, and they're gonna find themselves a nice kill on J4 as well. 2 more kills over to GMU.
And that is not what you want to see here on the side of Texas A&M. That Yorick split push just gets a massive injection of gold. He's gonna actually mostly get this top lane outer tower, and Yorick getting this far ahead this early on is really bad for the side of Texas A&M, and good play by Firefly to respond to 2v1 up top. And
here comes Galio once again to the bottom lane, misses the taunt on the Ezreal, but again, he's done this before. The entire Q from the Kai'Sa gonna land on the breakable of Braum, so they say, you know what, let's go ahead and pull the play off. It's more about that top lane, and we're concerned with getting that turret, which will be the first turret of the game for GMU, leading themselves into a 3,000 gold spike at this point, and that is so good pre the 14-minute mark, which is only 10 seconds away to get all those plates and the turret in the top lane.
Yorick right now is sitting on 3k gold, and he's going to go back and pick up his Triforce plus his boots here, and he's so strong as we transition into mid-game point for this. And who can deal with Yorick at this point unless Texas A&M try to commit multiple members up top, helping Precocious get out of this situation that he's been put in. This Yorick split push is going to pretty much dominate this game as we hit that 14-minute mark with power plating going down.
All right, as both teams have taken just a bit of a breather, we can look overall. 7 kills, 2-4. The Rift Herald is up. Yorick is on it. Sejuani going to join him as well, so they should be able to pick that up. Still early on. J4, however, nowhere around to try to make a play for it, as they haven't been able to keep a vision on it. And at this point, Texas A&M may have started off the game looking a bit strong. With all this focus on the bottom lane, they're losing so many things in the top side.
And this is going to be the big point of this matchup. J3SS needs to save one of these lanes. His top side's losing, his bot side's losing. They do have a great amount of wards in that bot side. You can actually see double pinks pretty much controlling, actually triple pinks, controlling all of the vision around the bot at Vortex Man. And they're going to go in.
Yeah, Cataclysm used by the J4, the flash force out from the Galio. Glacial Fissure will knock the Galio up, gets hit by the True Shot Barrage, gets stunned up. He may be taking. Hold on, somebody's got to kill him. There's the Q from the J4. So over the wall. It's just getting into Nico with 3 members stunned up, locked down. That's going to be the J4 following the rest of the fight. Going to continue seeing if they can pick anything else up. GMU, though, have the greater health bars. The 20 finds a stun onto Gracious. He's going to be dropped low. Mr. Black Panda has to leave the fight. In the meantime, though, Ione, what can he do? He's here for K to get the damage down. They finally drop the Braum, but they're going to lose the Yorick as, hold on, Gracious is just popping off. Just gets, I believe that was a triple kill in that fight. No, Lissandra got a double kill out of it, but still a 3-for-4 between the two teams. A&M come out in the lead.
And that team fight turned so quickly on the sides of these AoE ultimates. Just a fantastic opening by Anime Lover there on the Nico to get a 3-man Pop Blossom. But again, in those choked off spots. Lissandra's damage is so ridiculous. Every time a person fell, that Lissandra ghost kept coming up and dealing so much AoE damage. And Texas A&M actually win that team fight after starting off pretty rough around there. After catching out the Galio, these teams love to fight, and it's so much fun around here. They're actually going to go for the Earth Dragon. They should be able to pick it up, but I don't think George Mason want to let this go for free.
Anime lovers around the corner. Let's see what the Nico can do. Ooh, Void Seeker used by the Kai'Sa gets vision, but they don't get the Mountain Drake. In the meantime, though, Anime Lover going to be knocked up. He finds the stun, but it's only onto the J4, who's actually knocked down because Rylas coming in from behind. Finds some good CC, knocking that J4 down. Hold on, Kasha not ready to give this one up yet. A little bit of poke damage onto Rylas, but it is literally 2 for 4, and this Ezreal is still stepping forward. Very aggressive. That 3,000 gold lead has collapsed into a 1,000 gold lead for GMU. They still, though, have their own opportunities to make continued plays with that Galio ultimate. As you said, both teams, when they're trying to 5v5 in a thin area, there's a lot of AoE damage going down.
And Texas A&M able to close out that early game deficit they had put themselves in, but with the Rift Veil being dropped here, they looks like George Mason will get at least the Rift Veil charge onto that inner tower. Not going to get too much, but again, that 2-for-0 tower lead is that big, the gold deficit that we see in the game at this point. About a 1.6k gold lead. And one thing I do want to mention is Ezreal actually going for the Manamune into the Triforce build. We honestly never see this anymore. Most Ezreals opt in for that Iceborne just to get that consistent damage and that slow out, but he's going for the big boy Ezreal build because he can do a lot of damage, but if he gets either caught by any of the Sejuani ultis or by the Yorick in this cage, he can die really quickly.
Yeah, so 2 items finished by that Ezreal. Zest coming into that top lane, gonna find the knock-up onto the Yorick. That's a lot of damage, and nice Cataclysm. A whole lot of Irelia went back in, but they have the damage to take down the Yorick. Fortune goes down. Nice engage in the bottom lane. 2 ultimates used, but they still secure the Lissandra, so she will fall. And that might be a 3rd turret taken up by GMU in the bottom lane. However, the flash from Anime... No, hold on. Anime Lover might need a flash. True shot barrage gonna come through. Anime Lover dodging out a little bit of damage. The auto attack comes through. Kishana gonna take that one down with a nice long-range Mystic shot, so they are able to get a kill and trade. We'll see if they can also trade turrets. The bottom lane turret falls. Kai'Sa getting solo gold there. Currently 5-2-2 with a total of practically 9,000 gold at this point. She looking strong.
I love how these teams play just pedal to the metal, forcing fights all around the map. And like I mentioned it in the Champs Select, this is a game of the tale of 2 junglers. Every time the junglers are around one of their side lanes, something happens. They always try to make the force. They always try to make the engage. And we're seeing a very bloody game. 23 kills, 19 minutes in, almost kill a minute over that point. And again, for the side laners, this is good. Yorick wants to be getting a lot of kills, wants to be in a lot of these skirmishes. He is getting to that point where it was pretty dicey up there. Yorick was very close to being able to kill off Precocious. And if he can hit that point where he can 2v1 Precocious and Z3SS on the Jarvan pick, it's going to be very bad for the side of Texas A&M. But again, these skirmishes are just so close and people live by the skin of their teeth. And as we go into this mid game, this game is so exciting.
Oh yeah, and these fights are just going to get crazier and crazier as more items are completed. Almost 2 items for every member of both teams at this point. And we're getting to a Baron play. Hold on. So all 4 members of GMU, make it 3 members, are going to collapse. The Maiden of the Mist kind of counts as 3.5, if you will. Going to start burning it down. It's underneath 5,000 health. Does A&M even respond? Because it might just go down before they even get there. Winds of War from the Galio will help Yorick to actually stick it down as Sejuani. Going to find the engage. Hold on. Onto Lissandra. Kill instinct used. Taunt from the Galio. Going to try to get J4. He flags and drags himself to safety for the moment. Rylas continuing to want to chase. They got themselves the Baron. That's the target that they wanted. And now they can turn the Irelia down. It's up to 4 members to defend in the mid lane. Are they going to push or are they just going to reset?
You talked about this earlier on. In a best of 5, you want to play a little bit safe in the first game. You want to get the feel of how both of these teams want to play. But George Mason, oh, they're going to go in again.
Hold on. Maybe they've got that feel. Oh, good flash over the wall from the Yorick. Keeps himself alive. But yeah, you're talking about, you know, they getting their feet wet, getting a little comfortable. I think they're comfortable. Lissandra flashes forward, finds the prison, onto the Nico. She's gone. Glacial Prisoner will knock up the Kai'Sa as well. 2 quick kills to A&M. Now they're going to move on to the first tier turret in the mid lane, secure that for themselves. And yeah, they may have lost the Baron, but if they pick up and kill everyone else on the other side, you can't use it.
I was going to mention that that is definitely a play that you can only pull off at the first game of a series where you can get that early 20-minute Baron, and Texas A&M probably won't fall for it. Again, Texas A&M is such a scrappy team. Anytime somebody on the side of George Mason steps up just a little bit too far, just an inch, something that you would never get punished for in solo queue, they just pounce on it. And again, we see Mr. Black Panda making the play happen, flash ulting Enrique on this Kai'Sa pick. And if you can get this Kai'Sa pick to go down early in these team fights, Texas A&M will always win. That is a huge amount of damage that keeps going down, and they do have the Baron, but they aren't able to really get much from it.
At the moment, with the third Drake of the game, A&M feeling good. They've got double mountains to their name, which means if they get on another neutral objective, it will fall. And if you think about it, they were able to secure 2 turrets so far, but once they get to the last X-tier turret in the bottom lane or a second-tier turret, they're going to burn it down so fast. So, again, the game is still very close. 1,000 gold lead for GMU. It's all about where they make these plays and things like that Nico and Kai'Sa, the 2 carries for GMU being caught out. You can't do that in a game like this.
And I have to mention it, as an AD carry player, Kashuna right now is sitting on the Triforce plus Manamune power spike. He is so strong. His Qs will chunk out anybody on the side. Oh, they're just going in again.
J4 happy to flag and drag his team to victory. He's going to flash Cataclysm. They want the Sejuani. They're going to knock her down to about half health. Are they going to chase Firefly after she flashes away? It's flash for flash use at the moment. And one ulti, True Shot Barrage is going to miss. A nice 4 rush gets Sejuani out of harm's way. Kai'Sa left alone in the mid lane. All 5 members of A&M try to make a play. They're going to lose out, not going to kill for it. But they get a little bit of that flash from the Sejuani.
And Texas A&M, I hope they never change theirs. They will pull the trigger so quickly. Z3SS just flashing in onto Firefly. Was close to actually killing him off, and if they were able to get the jungle, they could have tried to push on one of these either inner towers or that bot lane outer tower, like you mentioned. Again, there's a lot of standing gold on the map for both of these teams. It's just about who pulls the trigger, who's able to get these team fights to go there. And again, that was a good choice by Texas A&M to try to catch out that Sejuani in that fight. Enrique actually was in the bot lane, pushing out the waves, resetting the map. If they can get a fight with Kai'Sa not in the fight earlier on, they can win these fights very handily.
Yeah, this is not a Kai'Sa with teleport, unlike the Ezreal, Lissandra, or Irelia. This is Kai'Sa who's going to have to walk her way across the entire map. Hold on, we got another fight. Lissandra going to go ahead and ult herself, and she's setting it up. And the Galio interrupted! Knocked him with a flag and drag! The rest of the fight continues. True Shot Barrage is going to just tear through everyone.
Nico.
Mr. Black Panda is going to drop first, though, as Zet's trying to do what he can. He's going to fall, and the members of A&M are routed. 4 get dropped, as the members of GMU have better frontline, better tank. They all survive that fight.
We have to say it, AoE team fight ultimates are the name of this game. Just a fantastic pop blossom by Anime Lover once again. They should be able to get this top lane inhibitor tower with Maiden of the Mist actually being up. Probably won't be able to get too much else, but they are able to open the base 24 minutes in. It's going to be a huge boom, especially with Baron coming up a minute and 30 seconds from now. If they can get wards around this Baron side, they can pretty much choke out Texas A&M. But again, this is not a team that can be choked out. They will pull the trigger so quickly, and they're just a little bit too over-eager on the play. Weren't able to get Enrique with the Cataclysm, and he was able to get out. And if you can't lock this Kai'Sa down in these team fights, and she is able to get out and get a lot of that fading, you will get wiped on the side of Texas A&M.
And that was the problem with some of the fights we saw previously. People weren't exactly in position like that Kai'Sa towards the bottom lane to fight when those triggers were pulled. And so A&M were able to make some power moves of their own. However, with all 5 members there and fighting true front-to-back line style, where they've got those tanks, Sejuani at this point with the War Bogs immediately into the Gargoyle Stone Plate. So incredibly tanky, can absorb pretty much everything that A&M could try to throw at her, as well as that Galio. Even Yorick is going to be a bit tanky with his lifesteal at this point in the game. They can truly take a fight when everything is being thrown at them from the front and forward. But opportunity for A&M to come back in this game is not over yet. They've only lost an inhibitor on the top side, so they'll have to keep that wave clear going. Baron is going to be up here shortly. If they could find a pick to kind of turn it into a 4v5 situation, they could definitely still come out and lead.
It is the best inhibitor to lose because it is that top side inhibitor. They are going to be able to push that wave in, pretty much always have at least some Baron push on the side of Texas A&M. The problem is this Yorick pick. You mentioned it earlier on. He's so strong right now, hitting 2 items, and Coach just can't really deal with him. So Texas A&M have to force the fight like they've been doing earlier on. If they can't force it or if they can't get the engage off as cleanly as they want, Yorick will blast the side lane. He's so strong right now. He's going to be pressuring these bot inner towers. And it's up to Texas A&M. They have to make the play happen. Really, they have to make the play happen quickly and cleanly, or Yorick will just get that bot lane inhibitor.
All right, well, the bot lane turret is going to fall. Yorick able to secure that for his team. Irelia just kind of doing cleanup duty on the minion wave. Lissandra still cleanup duty on that top side. They have delayed, though. No Baron yet picked up by GMU that they've been dancing around it. And as they delay further and further, that inhibitor will come back up, which will take a little bit of pressure off of A&M when it comes to what they want to do on the map. But with no pressure on that bottom side, Yorick just walks in, takes him out and Drake of his own. And that means the Baron will burn a little bit faster when GMU pulls the trigger.
And it looks like George Mason right now is just kind of waiting for item breakpoints. Yorick is about to hit that stair. He actually finishes it right now, and he's sitting at 3 items, and he's getting to that point where I actually don't think that Krakocious and Z3SS on the Jarvan stick can actually 2v1 him in the side lane. That's a big problem for Texas A&M. If they can't really deal with this Yorick in the side lane, they're going to have to commit way too many resources. They are able to do that because they are running the triple TP. Like we've mentioned in this game, they have all of the TPs up, so they are able to respond if George Mason try to go for that GG thing like we saw at 20 minutes in. It's just the amount of control that they're able to get with this Yorick pickup in the silence is so big. Finish.
Ezreal True Shot Barrage is going to catch vision, but is anyone here? J4 goes over the wall. Candy spied it away. Galio tries to taunt him. The Baron can take it down. J4 steals it away. Are you kidding me? Zez will sacrifice his life, but secures the Baron for the side of Texas A&M, giving them a breath of life in this game that they desperately need.
And you can go for cheese Barons like that, but you cannot get it to that point where there is a chance of J4 stealing. It is going to be up to George Mason to see what they can get with having the 4v5 on the map for another 25 seconds. But Jarvan coming in with such a clutch steal, and this gold deficit that they had is pretty much evening up. In the side lane now, Irelia should be able to deal with the Yorick split push, and that's a hero steal from the side of Z3SS.
Absolutely, and definitely worth losing your life for if you can make sure that that Baron goes to you and doesn't go into the hands of GMU. That allows Lissandra to have some better pushing defense against those super minions coming at the top side. That inhibitor should respawn before any other big fight breaks out. A&M, get a moment to take a breath and reset the map. They need to get the vision down first, though. You can see how much GMU has been focusing on dropping these wards deep into enemy territory. See where they're making those moves. A&M need to do that themselves, since they seem to want to just team fight their way to a victory. And if they want to team fight their way to a victory, they need to have that vision to know where and when to pull the trigger.
Again, in these team fights, however, the big target for Texas A&M needs to be this Kaiser. Enrico is the big damage dealer for the side of George Mason. He does so much damage.
Oh, hold on. Graceful Prince is going to be wasted. Ezra going to jump forward, get a little bit of poke damage. Right last year as well. Lissandra might pull the trigger, goes for trying to find the Galio. He's got a little bit of a knock-up, not stunned up just yet. What? Glacial Fissure used? As they're going to just continue the engage. Galio's dropped down. Cataclysm onto 3 members. The Kais is still on the outside using the Killer Instinct to get herself to safety, but Lissandra comes into the backline. She's going to just tomb her up. Kais is still cleanses, gets over the wall. Can anyone kill her? She finally goes down. Enrique will be dropped by Ezreal. Yorick in the meantime is in the enemy team base, taking out the inhibitor. It will be the inhibitor going down, but a quadra kill for Kushuna, doing a fantastic job that fight. And now the Lissandra has to defend, but that's 2 members of A&M that can push the mid lane.
And in terms of win condition, both teams do get what they really wanted. Yorick able to win the side lane split push versus Krakocious, but again, Kashuna's popping off in these team fights. He did opt in for the more aggressive Triforce build, but he does so much damage. We mentioned that Kaisa is the big target for the side of Texas A&M, but Kashuna needs to be the big target for the side of George Mason. If they can't kill this guy in team fights, they're gonna lose almost every fight.
And the fact that Lissandra was able to get around to the backside of that fight, using her ultimate to hold Kaisa in place, she has to burn the cleanse and get over the wall, but everyone says, you know what? We got an Ezreal that can shoot you from a mile away. We'll still take you down. They do get themselves a middle inhibitor, but they can't quite clean up the turret before GMU respawns.
What a crazy fight by both of these teams, and Ezreal has hit that 3-item power spike. Both of his tier items are stacked, and now he's so much more safe. He actually finishes now the Mercurial Scimitar 31 minutes in. 4-item Ezreal is such a big threat in these team fights, and Kashuna can stay so far back because the big targets for George Mason have to be Mr. Black Panda and Precocious. They have so much dive and they have so much force that they can do on Enrique. So no one's really paying attention to Kashuna in these team fights. He's just putting out hit after hit after hit. All of these Ezreal Qs coming in, poking them down, and
looks like he's also going for that Blade of the Ruined King, which will make his hits even harder on those tankier members of the Sejuani and the Galio, which we already saw him doing a great job of destroying those health bars. The Yorick did get the bottom lane inhibitor, so that's something to keep your eyes on. It will be down for a little bit, and as we talked about earlier, it's the worst to have when a Baron comes up. However, Baron's still on the map for a little bit, as the next Drake, there it is, the 2-minute timer for Baron shows up on the map. There is something to keep your eyes on, though, is these inhibitors, because the top one's open. That means 3 people from the side of GMU look like they're going to be pushing in to try to pick it up.
This game is on a nice edge. The Baron buff that Z3SS was able to steal has allowed this game to hold out and stall for a bit, but again, having these open inhibitors without any inhibitor towers is free reign for Yorick to really come in and stomp them out.
And be
even
elevated.
With these team fights going in the favor of Texas A&M.
Believe in our future.
All right, it's fine. For a second, it was, again, that pulled the trigger. We want to go. Lissandra was using the claw, going in very deep, but does back away, seeing that she's kind of all by herself. Go ahead.
Maybe onto that top inhibitor, and again, in terms of... Ezreal!
Ezreal jumping forward. The Sejuani also is going to lock up one. Look at the AoE. Everyone's being grinded up inside the Cataclysm. Nico Ultimate's going to smash on everyone. They're going to be going Lissandra Ultimate used on herself to avoid the Nico damage, but I think she's still going to fall. Gracious, literally the only one left alive for A&M, and will be taken down. So many people are matched on top of each other. Only the big carries can you actually hit. And once everyone walks away from the grinding pit, A&M are ace. Ladies and gentlemen, GMU just won the game in a single power move. They'll take down the Nexus, and they'll take game 1. What a ungodly move.
And Kashuna was playing so fantastically in these team fights, but he actually eat into the Yorick cage, and he just gets blasted by Firefly. Maybe a lapse of judgment there, but he cost them that final team fight, getting caught out, dying so quickly, and George Mason able to finish it out. It looked like the game was going to that point where Texas A&M had hit those item power spikes. They were winning these team fights, but a key pick onto Ezreal closes out, and 33 minutes in, what a bloody game between George Mason and Texas A&M. I can't even talk. So much back and forth action from both of these teams.
Well, and that's one of the things is when you have all 10 members literally in one Jarvan Ultimate Cataclysm just smashing each other. Talk about team fighting. It's hard to even see what's going on, but as you mentioned, that Ezreal getting picked in the middle of the fight. He wants to be the outside. He has one of the longest range abilities for an ADC. Are you kidding me? He does not want to be in the midst of the fight. He arcane shifts forward, gets himself in trouble, goes down, and that starts off a 4v5 that A&M cannot come back from. They're going to be successful. They're going to win game number 1. Congratulations to GMU doing a fantastic job. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very quick break. Before we do that, I did actually want to ask Prince, do you have any shout outs you want to give particularly in these games? Players who just stood out to you for doing a fantastic job.
In terms of, again, both of these teams played really well. In terms of, on the side of George Mason, I have to give it to Eon on that Yorick pick. He was being focused by Precocious and Z3SS in the side lanes, but he was able to turn around, getting key structures like that bot lane inhibitor, opening up the map for his team. In terms of the side of Texas A&M, again, they had such great team fighting. And you mentioned it, in that team fight where Kashuna got that quadra kill, Mr. Black Panda was able to find the flank onto Enrique. He was such a key member, and he got such great roams on that Lissandra pickup, we saw multiple times around the map these triple TPs coming into effect. Both of these solo laners coming into these team fights and turning into such a massive AoE fiesta, pretty much. But in terms of for both of these teams, they had how they wanted to play these games out, and it looked like
Join
were just
me
able to
and
take
be
fights
elevated.
so close for both of these teams.
All right, we're going to be right back, guys. We're going to take a very quick break, set up for game number 2. Congratulations, GMU, for game 1. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much, everyone. And I do want to give, before we take that break again, a quick shout-out to all of the new followers. Lol Chivas, Dice Bear, Shaden, Officer Fig, and I think Xanis you've followed a while ago. Either way, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Holy crap.